Masechet Pesachim Daf Yud Gimel. Pretty straightforward daf. We have two main topics. One is we're going to try to figure out the halakha. We had all these three opinions here in the Mishnah. Rabbi Meir says you eat during the 5th hour and then you burn it in the beginning of the 6th hour. Rabbi Yehudah adds an extra buffer. You eat during the 4th, and then the 5th hour you can use it. You can feed it to an animal, but not eat it. And then the 6th you burn it. Raban Gamaliel, similar to the Rabbi Yehudah, says you eat it in the 4th. Anyone can eat their chametz in the 4th. Then most people have to stop. And then in the 5th hour, only kohanim can eat terumah, that's chametz, because we don't want to burn that if we don't have to. So we allow the kohanim only, and then everyone burns it at the beginning of the 6th hour. All right, good. So we have three major opinions. Who do we follow Halakha? So first we say we follow Rabbi Yehudah. We wonder, why not Rabbi Meir? We try to bring a proof, but reject it. And then we say, why not Raban Gamaliel? He's kind of a compromised position in between. And then we reject that also and reject the possible proof. And then we note that Rabbi Yehudah Nasi agrees that halakha should follow Rabbi Yehudah, not to be confused. Rabbi Yehudah is Rabbi Yehudah bar Eli, 4th generation Tana. Rabbi is Rabbi Yehudah Hanasi, a 5th generation Tana. So he's agreeing that, yes, in fact, we should follow Rabbi Yehudah's opinion, which is what we do today. Okay, so we'll see who is halakha like. After that, the second topic will be regarding the public sign of the loaves that we put on top of the Bet HaMikdash, so everyone can see. Gives the times. Here's when you should stop eating, and here's when you should stop eating. So here's what time you should burn it. You know, like the sirens we have here to announce Shabbat in Israel too. So we want to know just basic things about that, like where exactly was it placed, and how and what. So we'll get back to this part of the outline in a minute. All right, we begin. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav. Rav Nachman is a 3rd generation Amora. Rav is a 1st generation Amora, but Rav Nachman was his student. So remember, then they're going to be quoted again. So remember their names. He says, Halakha ke Rabbi Yehudah. Good. So that means we have to stop eating at the end of the 4th hour and then burn it at the beginning of the 6th hour. Okay, good. Amar le Rava le Rav Nachman. Halakha ke Rabbi Meir desatam lan tana kevate. So hold on. Why not? Why don't you say the halakha is like Rabbi Meir? Because we have another Mishnah, and that's an anonymous Mishnah. Generally, something that's anonymous, we must be that is the halakha l'maaseh, because it represents everyone if it's anonymous. And we have a Mishnah that has no name. And when we correlate it, it seems to be the opinion of Rabbi Meir, and that would be a support for following the opinion of Rabbi Meir. What is that Mishnah? Ditnan. This is the beginning of the 2nd perek, so we're not going to get to this for another few days. Mishnah says, Kol sha'a shemutar le'echol ma'achil. Any hour, any time that you are allowed for the food to be eaten, right? That chametz you can eat chametz. You are allowed to feed it to an animal, right? They go together. You're eating and the animal's eating go hand in hand. Now, this is a positive way of saying it. We can derive from this the opposite too, that anytime I am not allowed to eat, then I am not allowed to feed it to my animals either. So look at that. So let's look back on our chart. So this seems to fit Rabbi Meir, who says in the 5th you can eat it, your animals can eat it, and then everyone can. In the 6th, nobody can eat it. Good, so that works fine. Rabbi Yehudah does not work, because here I have an hour where I can eat it and feed it to my animals, but that's the 4th hour. But the 5th hour I cannot eat it, and yet I can feed it to my animals. So you see, this doesn't work with the inference that we're making from the 2nd Mishnah. And this is a stam Mishnah, and it seems to follow Rabbi Meir. But we reject that. We say, no, hahi lav stamahu mishum de kashya mutar. Okay, this is written in short form. It's assuming you learned the 2nd perek already. In the 2nd perek, it says, why is the language of the Mishnah say kol sha'a shemutar le'echol? It should say kol sha'a she'ochel ma'achil. As long as you can eat it, you can feed it. The word mutar le'echol means someone is allowed to eat it, but not necessarily you. Who is that someone who's allowed to eat it? A kohen. Kohen can eat terumah during that time. So there is some permission for someone to eat, but not a general permission that everyone can eat. That's why it says the more indirect language, shemutar lechol, not kol she'ochel. And according to that interpretation, in fact, that Mishnah fits very well with Rabbi Yehudah. Anytime that there is someone who is allowed to eat it, that's when you can feed it to your animal. That includes the 5th hour. All right, good. So we got out of that one. Now, v'nema mod halakha Raban Gamaliel dahavale machria. Why don't we side with Raban Gamaliel, because he is a compromised position. On the one hand, here, in this 5th hour, Rabbi Meir says is totally allowed. Rabbi Yehudah says is totally not allowed. He says some people allow it, kohen. So go down the middle path, right? The golden mean. Why not follow him? Because he is a machriya. He's kind of deciding between the other two. Amar le Raban Gamaliel lav machriyahu tam denafshe ka'amar. So Rav Nachman, the name of Rav, would answer, no, Raban Gamaliel is not deciding between these two. He's saying his own opinion. You see, the first of two opinions did not address terumah at all. They just talked about this, chametz, yes and no. Raban Gamaliel is introducing another topic altogether. So therefore, he wasn't even in the room during that conversation. He was saying something else regarding terumah. So we can't use him as a deciding vote regarding the other two, and so that's why we don't bring him in. Okay, that's one answer. Rav Damar ki haytana. Another way that Rav is the one that said we follow halakha, like Rabbi Yehudah. Perhaps he is in fact his support is from the Tana, the Tana in this braita. What's the braita? 14 shechal liyot b'Shabbat, mevarin et hakol milifnei haShabbat, vesorfin terumot temeot tiluyot utorot, umishayirin min hatehorot mezon shete seudot kedei le'echol ad 4 sha'ot. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer ben Yehudah ish bar tota, she'amar mishum Rabbi Yehoshua. Okay, they're talking about a case where the 14th of Nisan is Shabbat, which means the time when we would usually get rid of chametz. Is it going to be that this year? I think the first Saturday is Saturday night. Yeah, so we're going to have this problem this year. We have to figure out what to do. It's good we're learning this. So you can't burn your chametz on Shabbat. So that means you have to get rid of everything from Friday, the 13th. Friday the 13th, even before. So what do? We mevarin et hakol. We destroy all the chametz before Shabbat. That's fine for regular chametz. What about terumah? See, terumah, you're not supposed to destroy terumah. So if it's tameh, fine. Terumah teme'ah, a kohen is not allowed to eat, so you have to destroy that. Fine. Tiluyot, if you're not sure, doubtful terumah, we're not sure if it's terumah or not, so we would rather not burn it, right? If we don't have to, but that also you burn it. Tehorot, terumah tehorah, it's edible, it's perfectly fine. It's chametz. You got to burn that even before the day before, because we can't destroy it on Shabbat itself. So we get rid of everything, and we only leave 2 meals worth. Why only 2? Don't we eat 3 meals on Shabbat? Well, yeah, we have on Friday night and then Saturday morning. Then could have chametz, but already Saturday Sudash Lishit, you can't have chametz anymore. So that's why we leave just enough for 2 meals. And that's exactly what probably many of us will do this year. You'll do b'dikat chametz the night before, Thursday night, and then you'll leave just enough bread, a couple of chalot for those 2 meals, and then try to eat it all, right? Just enough, so that you have enough to eat ad 4 sha'ot. Here's the key words for us, so that you can eat them. You can eat them by the 4th hour. Oh, what does this mean? Who says you can eat during the 4th hour? That's Rabbi Yehudah. If this was Rabbi Meir, he would say that you can eat till the 5th hour. Okay, so this is Elazar ben Yehudah, a Tana, and he obviously says 4 hours. And so this is a good source, right? That Rav can say, oh, he must have known this source and said, here's a support that halakha is in fact like that. Arba sha'ot. Okay, so far it's only a single opinion to be Elazar. Maybe everybody else disagrees with him, but the story's not over. Amru law tehorot lo yisarfu shema yimatzu lahem ochlin. So no, don't. You could burn the terumah teme'ah because no one can eat it. Also, the doubtful one you can't eat. But the terumah tahor, keep it on the side. Maybe some guests will come over. Your friend Mr. Cohen will come by, and you'll invite him, and he'll eat it. So don't destroy it, just in case someone comes. No, we checked around. I asked all my Kohen friends, and nobody available to come for lunch. Maybe there are some Kohanim that are outside the city. They're starting Shabbat in some hotel. They're camping outside, and you don't know that they're nearby, and they might come over for Shabbat. So just in case, because you really would not prefer not to have to burn the terumah tehorah. So save it just in case. What happens if nobody comes? Then you could do bitul, right? Whatever. You get rid of it some other way. Okay. Amar lahem ledivrechen af tiluyot lo yisarfu shema yavo Eliyahu v'taharem. So this Rabbi Eliezer says, according to you, right? You're saying leave the tahor because someone might come. Well, then how about the doubtful one? You should not. Don't burn the doubtful one either, because maybe Eliyahu Navi will come on Shabbat. Mashiach announcing Mashiach, and when Eliyahu comes, he's going to tell us all the doubts that we had. He'll tell us, oh, this terumah is okay. So just in case, okay, I think he's being sarcastic with him, right? אמרו לו, כיוון מובטח להם בישראל שאין אליהו בא לא בערבי שבתות ולא בערבי ימים טובים מפני הטורח. No, but he's not going to come not on Friday and not on Shabbat, because everybody's involved in preparing for the holiday, and this was not only Shabbat but also the day before Pesach, and so people can't be bothered when they're doing their Shabbat shopping for Mashiach to come, right? There's too many things to handle, so therefore we don't have to worry about Eliyahu coming on that Shabbat. This, by the way, is why from Motzei Shabbat and Havdalah, where we talk so much about Eliyahu, because now after Shabbat's over, we can hope for Eliyahu coming again. Okay, so anyway, that's their answer. They continued arguing about it all day long, whether you should burn the terumah or not. Amru lo zazu misham ad shekavu halakha k'Rabbi Eliezer ben Yehudah ish bar tota shamar mishum Rabbi Yoshua. After all the argumentation, Rabbi Yoshua won out, and they all agreed with his halakha. So there you go. Here's a proof. Not only does Rabbi Eliezer think that you should eat during the 4th hour, and that's the limit, but everybody agreed to him, because after they argued it, they all agreed. So this is a great source for Rav, that all the rabbis agreed, even in the times of the Tanaim, that halakha is like Rabbi Yehudah only till the 4th hour. All right, this looks like a very good source, except it doesn't really work. My love afilu le'echol. So when they said halakha is like him, like Rabbi Yoshua, Elazar, doesn't that mean even regarding the time when you can eat? Amada papa mishmed rava lo leva'er. But the thing that they were arguing about, and that they all agreed at the end, was about the fact that should we burn destroy the chametz terumah or not? They all agreed with him that destroy all the chametz, even the tahor, and leave only 2 meals. We don't have to think about a guest who might come. That's the point they agreed upon. Doesn't say that they agreed with him regarding the 4th hour. It could be they said, leave 2 meals and you'll eat it during the 5th hour. They weren't arguing on that point. That's just a small detail in the story, and it's not something that they agreed upon.
2 meals was Friday night dinner, Shabbat lunch. Is that the
Friday
2
night
meals?
Shabbat lunch, right? Whether you have to stop eating lunch at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. That was not what the story is really about.
Just put it on the side for whenever you eat it. It could be 9:30 in the morning.
Right. Whenever you eat that second meal, precisely. All right, good. So we don't have a proof from there, but it's not disproof either. Now, va'af Rabbi Saba lahad Rav Nachman. So in our outline, we just said why not Rabbi Meir, and we explained why, because that Mishnah is not a stam Mishnah, and we said why not Raban Gamaliel, because he's in between. It says no, his argument is not related, and this Tosefta is actually not relevant to our topic. And now we're going to show that Rabbi Yehudah Nasi actually agrees, and this is an interesting case of depreciating chametz. Let's see what case he's going to refer to. A story. Rav Nachman, who in the name of Rav said Halakha is like Rabbi Yehudah, because De'amar Rabin bar Rav Ada. He told this story. Maaseh be'adam echad she'ifkid disakaya mele'a chametz etzel Yochanan chakuka'a. Okay, so some man, we don't know his name, he left a disak. That this is a Greek word. Disak means two, d like two, do, and sak meaning a sack. This is a double sack. It almost translates exactly into English, right? A double sack, kind of like a saddlebag that would have two sides that maybe you could put around your neck or put on an animal for balance. And it was full of chametz. So this guy went to Yochanan Chakuka'a. Do you remember his name? He was the one a few dapim ago, right? He has a funny name, so you could remember it. He's the one that he was out in the field and he came back to the city and they said, "Hey, how's the wheat doing in the field?" And he said, "The barley is good," right? And they said, "Oh, great news. Go tell the horses. I'm sure they'll be happy." Okay, so Yochanan Kukuka always has bad luck with wheat. And in this case also, he has some bad luck. So that if you're gonna give your chametz to someone, I don't know, don't leave it with him. Anyway, so this person says, "Can you hold on to my chametz for me?" Now, while he's holding on to it, so mice bore a hole into the bag, and the chametz was spilling all over the place. So that's not problem number one. But an even bigger problem is that it was Erev Pesach, and now the chametz is going to become worthless, right? Because once that 6 hour hits, he has to destroy the chametz, right? And now this person who left it with him is going to lose out on everything. So Sha'ari Shona Amalo Hamten. So Rabbi Yochanan Chakuka, doesn't say he's a rabbi. He comes to the Rabbi at sunrise, and he says, "I have this bag of chametz. And what should I do with it? The person's going to lose out everything. I don't know if he's going to come back or not." What's the question? The question is, should he go and sell it? Because he can, at that point, he can sell it. Someone will eat it, and then he can take the money. And then when the guy comes back, says, "Oh, I sold it for you. I have your money." On the other hand, maybe the guy will come back earlier, and he's going to say, "I want my chametz. I want to have some breakfast." I says, "Oh, I got rid of it." "What do you mean you got rid of my chametz?" So he doesn't know what to do. So Rabbi says, "Wait." Okay. He comes back Shania, second hour. Amar lo hamten. Shilishit amar lo hamten. Revit amar lo hamten. Chamishit amar lo se umochra bashuk. Just imagining this fantastic scene. How about now? He's all worried. He's all nervous about it, right? I got to sell it. It's gonna be too late. No one's going to buy this. And so only at the fifth hour, he says, "Go and sell it." So this is interesting that we're bringing a proof that Rabbi agrees with Rabbi Yehudah, that Rabbi agrees. How do we know? So he tells him to sell it in the fifth hour. Who's he selling it to in the fifth hour? My love legoyim, Rabbi Yehudah. So when he sells it, he sells it to non-Jews. And that's why, see, the fifth hour, only non-Jews you're allowed to benefit from it during the fifth hour. You can give it to your animal, you're allowed to sell it to non-Jews. And so that supports the Rabbi Yehudah. This whole story supports the Rabbi Yehudah. Amar Rav Yosef, lo l'Yisrael Rabbi Meir. No, who told you he's selling it to a non-Jew? Maybe he's selling it to a Jew. And in that case, it's the opposite. This is a proof for Rabbi Meir, the fact that a Jew is allowed to consume it. So he's waiting till the last possible minute that a Jew can own it, can eat it. And that's when he's selling it. So it's actually a proof for Rabbi Meir. Amar le'Abaye, il Israel nishkele lenafsheh. Wait, if he can sell it to a Jew, then he can just take it for himself, right? Why didn't Yochanan Chakuka'a say, "Oh, the guy's not coming. Let me benefit from it. I'll eat it, and then I'll pay him back for that amount whenever the guy does show up." Right? Why does he have to go and sell it? He can take it himself. We have an answer for that, a nice answer. Mishum chashada, because of suspicion. The Tanya, let's say if someone who's in charge of the charity funds, and he looks around, there's no poor people, right? Thank goodness, that's so nice. Nobody needs the money, so he's going to save it up for maybe another day. And so he has all change, loose change. Everybody gives $1. He has 100 single dollar bills. He wants to change it for 100. So he should not change it with his own money. Why? Because it looks suspicious. He's taking all these bills and taking it for himself, even though he's putting the 100 in. People looking at it say, this doesn't look quite right. So rather, he should go to someone else and say, hey, you have 100 for these ones, and that way no one will be suspicious, even though he's not doing anything wrong if he takes it himself. Similarly, Tamchui is a soup kitchen, and so he has a soup kitchen, and there's nobody coming. So he shouldn't take it for himself, but rather should sell it to other people. Right? Be free from blame, not only from Hashem, who knows that you're honest, but even from other people, right, who don't think so. Right? I always have this dilemma, in shul, we put $1 on the plate. So sometimes if I need change, so I take all the money and I put a $10 bill there. But I hope everybody knows that I didn't just take the money. I put the bigger bill. Okay, so anyway, this is the reason why he didn't take it for himself, because he's acting as is not tzedakah, but he's acting as a guarantor to this, and nobody should think that I gave you something to watch and you took it for yourself. So that's why he would sell it to another Jew, even though it was permitted during the 5th hour. But still, we don't have a proof that Rabbi follows Rabbi Yehudah. But we do have a proof. Amar le Ravada bar Matana le Rav Yosef. Beferush amartlan, seo mochran legoyim kerebi Yehuda. Rav Yosef is the one that challenged this. Rav Yosef says, no, maybe he gave it to a Jew. But Rav Yosef's student says, you told us this yourself. Rav Yosef in his old age had dementia, sadly, and he forgot the things that he taught. We saw this many times already. And so, no, you taught us that the story was that Rabbi said, go and sell it to a non-Jew. And that follows Rabbi Yehudah. That's how you told us the story. And so, in fact, this is a good proof that Rabbi Yehudah Nasi held, according to Rabbi Yehudah, that only during the 4th hour they could eat it, and that's why I waited till the 5th hour and only sold it to non-Jews at that time. All right, good. Now, a tangent regarding this story. Rav Yosef, Keman Azla Hashma'ata de Rabbi. We were just quoting Rav Yosef. Probably when he was younger, he taught a lot about the story. And he said, who does this follow, this story? It follows Raban Shimon ben Gamaliel regarding another aspect of the story, as follows. Ditnan, Mishnah. Hamafkid perot esel chavero, afilu hen avudin, lo yiga bahen. Raban Shimon ben Gamaliel omer, in general, if you're holding on to something for someone else, and it's depreciating in value as you're holding it, so you want to save the person's investment, what should you do? According to Tanakama, if it's a regular depreciation, anytime you store something, over time, it's going to depreciate. Then even if it's getting less, don't touch it. It's not yours. And so, be more passive. They got to come back as, it's worth less now. What can I do? Right now, you waited a long time to come back. However, Rabbi Shimon Gamaliel says, no, if it's depreciated value, you are responsible. Go sell them in front of a bet din. The bet din will make sure that you're selling it honestly. And that's a way of restoring lost property, because otherwise the person's going to lose out. Okay, good. So we see this machlok, and so this Yochanan Chakukah, who was he, or Rabbi, who was he following? Obviously, he was following Rabbi Shimon ben Gamaliel, because he told him, sell it, don't hold on to it. Otherwise, the owner is going to lose out on the value. But we reject that. That could be actually according to both opinions. Amar le Abaye, v'lav yitmar Allah, amar Rabba bar Chana, amar Rabbi Yochanan, lo shanu ela בכדי חסרונן, אבל יותר מכדי חסרונן, מוכרן בבית דין, וכל שכן אחא, תהא פסידה לגמרי. That controversy there was only if it's decreasing value at a standard rate. So a standard rate, I know it's going to depreciate over time. In that case, Tanakama says, just leave it, hold on to it. Rashbag says, that you should sell it to even hold on to that little bit of money. But everyone agrees that if it's depreciating a lot, there's some kind of a fire sale on it, and it's going to be totally lost if you wait. If it's like milk and it's going to spoil if you wait, and it's going to be worth zero, then for sure you have to. And so here, for sure, not only was it spilling out of the bag, that was the least of his problems. It's going to become chametz, and it's going to have to be destroyed. And so everyone would agree that he did the right thing in this case, and to sell it to a non-Jew, recoup the money, and then he gave him back the money when he came back. All right, so that was the first topic of the who the halakha follows, and now the second topic is regarding the next Mishnah, which says this is how they announced to everyone when they should stop eating. There was two loaves of todah pisulot. We're going to speak a lot about this word. This is whenever you bring a korban todah, Thanksgiving offering, you bring with it 40 loaves of bread, 10 loaves of bread, 30 loaves of matzah. And so they would take two of those loaves and put it up on top of the columns. When they were both there, everybody would eat. They take one that says, now this is the waiting period to go prepare, don't eat, but don't burn yet. And they take both of them away in the beginning of the 6th hour, and that's when they know to burn it. Okay, good. So now let's see some details about this. First, we're going to say, where exactly was it placed? We'll see a little bit of architecture of the Bet HaMikdash. Then, in what sense were they disqualified? What happened to them that they became disqualified? And why use disqualified ones in the first place? We'll see two opinions about that. Rabbi Eliezer, who disagrees with it completely. And then third, what was the sign? There's another opinion that the sign was not loaves of bread, but rather plowing cows. Okay. So good. Od amar Rabbi Yehudah shetecha lo tane tana kamed Rabbi Yehudah al gav ha'itzteba. Where was it? It was on top of the bench. Itzteba. We saw a lot of that in Eruvin, right? Benches that stick out. Amar le v'chil hasniyanu sarich. Well, on the bench, that's all the way low down, right? It's only like 2 feet high. What are you trying to hide them? How's anybody going to see the sign if it's just on a bench? Tene al gag ha'itzteba. No, we mean on the roof, on top of where those benches were, all the way on top. Okay, good. That makes more sense. Amar Chava Amar Rabbi Yehudah harabayit setav kaful haya. So while you're mentioning the Bet HaMikdash, I'll teach you a little bit about what it looked like. There was stav. Setav means a colonnade, a row of columns, and it was actually a double row of columns. The word stav you might know from the word stoic. The Stoic philosophers, they were called that because they would walk around where on these covered areas that had columns, and they would sit there, and that's where they would study and teach their students. That's why they're called Stoics. But they're not the only ones that had columns. Bet HaMikdash had a double row, one over here and another one in back of it. And then people could set up stores around here to sell refreshments and pretzels and not on Pesach, and maybe money changers and all kinds of things. And now people would walk around. This is not in the Bet HaMikdash itself. In this picture, there's also some columns in the Bet HaMikdash, right? But this is talking about the area around it, where according to most opinions, you're allowed to walk even now. And so people would walk around and just see each other, and it was a nice social gathering for people from all over the world would come and meet there. Okay, so that's those two areas. Gotta go back up. Okay, we had this double stoa. Tanyan mehachi harabayit setav kaful haya. Rabbi Yehudah omer istevanit hayta nikret setav lifnim mistav. We have a braita that backs up what Rachaba said, because he also says in the name of Rabbi Yehudah that it was called istevanit, which means a double colonnade. All right, wonderful. Now there were pisulot, these loaves, we picked pasul ones. So amai pisulot, in what way did they become disqualified? Amar Rabbi Chanina, mitoch shehayu merubot nifsalot belina. Tetanya en mevi'in toda bechag hamasot mipnei chametz sheba. So one way that the loaves of bread can become disqualified from eating is if they are overdue. When you bring a korban todah, you have to bring the animal and 40 loaves, and you have to eat them all that day and that night. After that, sunrise the next morning, you're not allowed to eat them. this is actually quite a beautiful commandment because it means that you can't eat all those 40 loaves yourself. So you're going to have to invite lots of family and friends and poor people and the V'im and all to join your Thanksgiving meal, barbecue. And so this is a nice way of celebrating and have something good happen to you. Now, when would people bring their Korban Todah? People that didn't live near Jerusalem, they might be traveling to Jerusalem for the holiday, but you cannot bring a Korban Todah on Pesach because 10 of the loaves are chametz. So that all Pesach is out. So therefore you have to bring it beforehand on the 13th day. And so all these people from all over the world are coming and bringing Korban Todah. Maybe they were sick during the year and they want to thank Hashem for getting better. And now you have, each one has 40 loaves. You have a lot of loaves that it's very difficult for everyone to finish consuming. And so that's what it's talking about. 2 of these loaves that were overdue now and cannot no longer be in on the 14th at sunrise. And so that's what the loaves are that we placed there. Okay, we place them there and not tahor ones because tahor ones we can still eat and we don't want to burn them, but these pasul ones we got to burn them anyway. Okay, peshita. Now, is this obvious that you can't bring a korban todah on Pesach because it has chametz? No, we're going to add to it. Amarav Ada Barahava. It's teaching, this baraita is teaching us that even on the 14th, I'm not allowed to bring korban todah because even though in the morning I could bring it and eat the loaves quickly in the morning, but you're not allowed to prepare yourself for disaster because you're going to have only a short time to eat the loaves, and then probably they're going to become prohibited, and then you're going to have to burn them, and so you cannot bring a korban todah on the 14th. You have to bring it on the 13th. All right. Therefore, everyone's coming. They're coming last minute, and they bring it on the 13th. There's so many that there's going to be some left over, and that's what we're talking about. Okay, good. Mishum Rabbi Yanai amru kesherot hayu ve'ela amai kare lehu pesulot shelo nishchat alahen hazevach. Okay, see, there's a different interpretation. These were never qualified to be loaves of bread and then became overdue. No, the opposite. They're actually just regular loaves of bread that that a person designated, said, these will be my loaves for my sacrifice. However, he never got a chance to slaughter the sacrifice. And so therefore, they're connected to the sacrifice, but they're only allowed to be eaten once you finish once you finish preparing the sacrifice, which means the shechita and sprinkling the blood, that finishes the process, and then you can eat the rest of the meat and the loaves that go along with it. So that's what it's talking about. This is not yet ready loaves. All right, we wonder about this. V'nishchot. Well, why not make the sacrifice? Do the shechita, and then you'll eat the loaves. Shabbat zevach. Oh, it's a case where we lost the animal. Right? I got, I went to some animal. I said, oh, you're going to be my Thanksgiving offering. The animal heard that and said, thanks, I'll see you later. Right? And darted off, and we lost it. It's smart. So we don't have it. We don't have it. Hold on. So why not bring another one? And then you'll sacrifice that, and then the loaves will be okay. Why are you leaving these loaves just sitting around and you can't eat them? Damar zot todah vezo lachma uchdera ba. Damar Rabba avad halechem mevi lechem acher. Avdat todah and mevi todah acheret. My tama lechem gelal todah ven todah gelal lechem. The answer is as Rabba says, because he says if you lost bread, then you bring other bread instead. But if you lose the animal, you don't bring another animal. Why? Because the bread is just subservient to it's a side dish for the animal, but the animal is not a side for the bread. And therefore, if you have the animal and you lost the bread, bring other bread, and we'll still continue as usual. But if you lost the animal, you lost the main dish, and so then there's no need to bring another animal. And so that's the case. Hold on. Now, you just said that I have loaves of bread. I said these loaves of bread will be for my korban todah. So they have a certain amount of holiness. Right now, I can't eat them because they will be. But since they were not ever it wasn't actualized, why can't I redeem them for money? There's 2 kinds of kiddushat mamon and kiddushat haguf. Kedushat Mamon is say, I designate the value of this item is holy, but then if anything is like that, I can redeem it with money and then I can eat it just fine. An animal is Kedushat Taguf. I say, this animal is holy. I have to bring that animal. I can't redeem it. So in this case, why not just give money instead? And that you'll use at some future point for something kodesh, and then you can eat these loaves. So why are they pasul? What's pasul about them? So we'd rather not burn food, especially if it's holy. We'd rather redeem it and not have to burn it. So rather, a new case, must be talking about a case as follows. I designated these loaves will be for this Thanksgiving offering, and then I did shechita. But so and as soon as I do shechita, now the loaves become prohibited in and of themselves, and I can't redeem them. But just as the Kohen is about to take the blood spills on the floor as he's doing shechita, and he can't continue, he can't complete the process. So because he cannot complete the process, the loaves of bread never become permitted, right? So they become prohibited in the first stage, but never go through the whole thing, and so therefore they're in limbo and cannot be fixed. And that's the case I was talking about. That's the kind of loaves that we pick. I guess it happened often enough that we have loaves around like that. Uchman, Kerebi, and this would have to follow the opinion of Rabbi, the two things that you need to do to a sacrifice, shechita and sprinkling the blood, each of them can raise up the bread to be prohibited even without each other. Some versions of the Talmud say mo'alin, that you would be prohibited and chayav me'ilah if you use them. Detanya, here's a braita that says his opinion. Kibsei aseret en mekadeshin et halechem ela b'shchita. Talking about a different kind of korban, but it's the same laws. On Shavuot, we bring the two lechem offering out of wheat, and you're only allowed to eat them. Each of the two breads come along with a keves. So you have to do shechita first, and then you can eat the bread. Kesad, shechatan lishman, vezaraktan man lishman, kidesh halechem. If you did both steps, you did shechita and you sprinkled the blood lishman. Whenever you do a korban, you have to do it with intention for that korban. If you did it with intention, I think as a chatat, then it's not good. So if you did everything properly, both steps, then the bread is holy, and the kohanim can eat it. Shechatan shelo lishman, v'zaraktaman shelo lishman, lo kidesh alechem. If you did both badly and you had in mind something else, then the sacrifice is a bad sacrifice, and in that case, the bread is not holy. Shechatan lishman, and you can't eat it. Shechatan lishman, v'zaraktaman shelo lishman, lechem kadosh, ve'no kadosh, divrei Rabbi. If you did one or the other, you did shechita with lishma, but you did the blood not lishma, so you only did half of it. So then that bread is holy and not holy. What does that mean? Holy enough that you cannot redeem it for money, but not holy enough that you cannot eat it. That's what the B says. So taking the same law and applying it back here, that this is the same thing that we had this Thanksgiving offering with the animal. The animal and the loaves. The animal they just shechita, and then they lost the blood, and that's why the bread is in limbo. That's the bread that we use, and we put up on top of the pillars in order to alert everybody. Okay, good. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon omed olam eno kadosh halechem ad sheishchot lishman v'yizrok lishman. Now, regarding that baraita, that was Rabbi said even one step. But Rabbi Eliezer says, no, it's not the bread does not become holy until you do both. And so if you did only one, don't worry about it. It's not holy. You can redeem it. You can still redeem it even after only one. So he disagrees with that point. Now, what about him? According to Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, where would we find these loaves that are pasul? Even he could agree. Afilu tema Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon, hacha ma'eskina kigon shenitkaber adam bakos v'nishpach. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Shimon sabar le'kabu. Tamar kol ha'omed lizrok kezaruk dameh. As long as you gathered the blood into a cup, even if it's spilled before you got to sprinkle it on the mizbeach, it's still okay, because as long as it has potential to be sprinkled, we consider it as if it was already sprinkled. And so if it fell on the floor right away after you do shechita, it's not good. But as long as it was in that cup before, so even he would say that that is sufficient to make the bread holy, and then you can't redeem it anymore. Okay, so he could agree on a type of case. All right, all that is good. And now we have the third opinion, which is a lot simpler. Tana mishum Rabbi Eliezer amru kesherot hayu. He disagrees with the Mishnah. He doesn't think you have to use loaves that are tameh or unedible, because they could be regular loaves. Now, the thing with regular loaves is you want to be able to eat them. So he says, yeah, they would eat them. How? נטלה אחת מהן תולין, לא אוכלים ולא שורפין. נטלו שתיהן, התחילו כולן שורפין. And so so when they took away one loaf, they would eat it. And when they took away the second loaf, even though it was the end of the 5th hour, they took it away 2 minutes before, and the Kohanim quickly ate it. And so you don't have to use a pasul loaf. Why? Just use a regular loaf, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, good. And so that concludes that discussion. And now a short discussion on what was actually the sign that they used. We said they did this whole thing with the loaves, but another opinion, Tana Abba Shaul Omer, Shte parot hayu chorshot bar mishcha, kol zman shetem chorshot, kol ha'mochlin nitelet echad mehen tolin, lo ochlin v'lo sorfin, nitlu shetehen, hitchilu kol ha'am sorfin. Instead, they would have 2 cows that were plowing on Har HaZitim. Nice, they could see, if you're in Jerusalem, you can have a nice view of Har HaZitim, and as long as both of them were there, you can continue eating. They would take 1 cow away, and 1 cow is by himself, then you have to wait. And then when they take both cows away, then you know that you have to burn the chametz. Okay, why cows? I don't know. I'm not sure if it has any symbolic value. It is interesting because there's another law we're going to see in the 4th perek, that you're not allowed to do work on Erev Pesach. You can't go and have your animals working the ground. So why are they using this as a symbol? But it seems that the Mount of Olives, they didn't grow anything there anyway. So they were just doing kind of symbolic plowing, and so that was the sign that they used instead of the 2 loaves. And Yerushalmi brings a lot of other possibilities. Maybe they had different signs. Maybe different years they used different things. So take a sheet and pull it up over the side of the wall, or things like that. The point is, make sure everybody knows and everybody's on the same page. Speaking of which, we'll see the next page tomorrow.